I look at parishes like this one and Our Lady of Lebanon and I just think, man, they must have 150 people looking to get on that committee and serve. It baffles me, but it's not the case. Talk to any chaplain, and some people do this. They'll go to a chaplain, why is this person on the committee? The chaplain gives a very good answer. I work with the people available to me. Where were you? Ask yourself, where am I? And why aren't I putting up my hand to do more? And if you're not going to put up your hand, that's fine, but don't complain and don't consume so much. There's always something to be done. Stop being takers. We are here to give to our parish also. So the solution here is there needs to be a humility in service and a focus on giving back. The church needs you because it knows that in you serving the church, you save yourself. In serving, oh, you're going to come to this parish event? I don't like the music there. Stop going to consume. Why don't you think about what you can give? Stop looking at the youth committee and say, oh, I wish they'd do this and I wish I'd do that. Go help them. Serve. Put your hand up.
Good morning and welcome to Andrew's Clubhouse on this beautiful sunrise morning. Sun hasn't risen yet. It is beautiful, dark, cool, contemplative morning. It's actually quite lovely. It is 5:15 a.m. Sunday, the 23rd of February, 2025. I don't say the year often enough. It is 2025 and it's loading my morning report. Well, I had 7 hours and 13 minutes of continuous sleep score of 81. That's pretty good. I dreamt last night and the night before were the two times in the last year that I actually dreamed. It was great. My HRV is 31 milliseconds or ms, don't know what that means. Time to get going. Thanks, watch. I will. My watch is my best friend after my other best friend died of having his soul crushed, heartbroken. And he had nothing left to live for, innit? I wanted to make this episode today about... I want to start actually by talking to you about my Uncle Tony, right? I just want to get into it. My Uncle Tony was recently arrested and he was living with a friend of his a few blocks away from his sister and brother's house, right? Around the Marylands area, around the Cumberland area. There was an AVO out on him for some sort of domestic dispute at the house that he used to live in Villiers Street, but then his sister Rada came from Lebanon and basically kicked him out of the house, and he had nowhere to live, and he couldn't live with his brother Charlie because his brother Charlie couldn't stop bashing him. And these two enduring guardians for the last several years, his nephew Majid and his brother Charlie, whooped him constantly based on Tony's recount and based on what they told me personally, right? So both Majid and Ami Charbel admitted that they bashed Tony, right? Majid said something along the lines of, bro, you don't know, cuz, you gotta do it, man, you gotta do it. He is so annoying. He doesn't clean up after him. Cuzzy, that's the only way he'll learn. Woo, boy, howdy. When Majid began talking like that, which was around June, July 2023, was when something in my subconscious began to sort of like click, and I realized, what the hell am I doing? Why am I working with such monsters? Because I'm also trying to figure out why what happened last year happened. because I, had $2 million to play with. And I ended up broke, right? And losing everything because of the people that I was working with. I could not work with these kind of people with these sort of attitudes that live this sort of life. Because what Majid was telling me was that domestic violence and abuse is okay, and he had the same blind spot about bashing people as my brother, right? So I've got like several AVOs out on my brother, like during sort of high school, right? Because he kept going aggro, he kept sort of bashing on me and my mum and smashing stuff up in the house. So we call the cops, right? Desperate for someone to get rid of my brother. And then finally, after like the third AVO, he got the message. And the entire family sort of got the message, like Eddie can't live in, the house with his mum and brother and sister anymore because he's a violent, aggro person like his father. None of that's ever acceptable, right? And then, cut to, over a decade after, or 20 years, Majid is engaging in the same behavior as my drug-addicted brother, but this time to his older uncle, right, who's a schizophrenic, who can't control his temper, who needs medical attention, who needs a social worker. But to Majid and his uncle Charlie, in their mind, Kazi, he's just joking. He doesn't clean up after him. He is annoying and he coughs when he smokes marijuana. So we need to bash the living shit out of him constantly. And that will make a paranoid schizophrenic with emotional issues better. Anyway, it was disgusting. I was appalled. I was nauseous. Oh God. So it was inevitable. Last year was inevitable. I was going to break, and I broke because I could not come to terms with the fact that these people are monsters. Because I fully came to terms with the fact that, I was growing up and working, engaging with absolute monsters that thought that they were soldiers of Christ. Disgusting, horrendous people. And I believe that from the bottom of my heart. There is no truer truth in the world than Ammi Charbel deserves to be in jail more than Ammi Tone. That's a wrong statement. Sorry, Ammi Charbel does not deserve to be in jail, right? Jail's a complex thing. He doesn't deserve to be in jail. There is more cause for concern about Ammi Charbel's behavior than Ammi Tone. With Ammi Tone, to me, it's clearly medical. Kind of like me last year, right? Be nice to him, support him, don't bash him, and he's good. Ammi Charbel, I don't know, right? He's got way too much power. He thinks that what he does is good because he can get away with it. And he can get away with it, so we'll keep doing it, right? Ammi Charbel assaulted his niece. Ammi Charbel assaulted all of his nephews. Ammi Charbel assaulted his brother, right? Left him bloodied, right, in their apartment several years ago. And then a few weeks prior to that, broke his finger at his factory in Revesby, his home upholstery factory, right? Ammi Tone was the one with the broken finger, or the fractured finger, not Ammi Charbel. Ammi Tone was the one with the cut and lacerations on his skull, not Ammi Charbel, right? Who? But to me, these were the conditions surrounding Ammi Tone around the time that he must have lashed out at his brothers and sisters. And this would have been shortly after I tried to kill my father, around the January time, right? Oh, no, just before then. just before January last year, before I sort of, I don't know, went to my family's house to talk to them about, you know, all of my problems. My problems, Jesus Christ. You know, I got problems, but no one near as bad as them. And I sort of lashed out violently at my father, and I could not help it. And I obviously am apologetic for what I did, but for me, the question has always been since then, like, what led me to lash out at my father? What made me so angry? The answer's simple. It's that family. It's my father, my Uncle Maroon, my Uncle Charlie, Saeed, Majid, Abdi Ghada, Danny, Ami Zuzu, yeah, all of that sort of ilk, right? They made me so angry that I lashed out at my dad. I've never showcased violence or aggression to that level ever before. It started with them specifically. Yeah, man, and then it sort of reached out to, you know, like my home life, and it was really, really concerning. And yeah, lost everything, including my wife. But, you know, I'll get her back. I want to read to you the Cumberland Police Area Command Facebook message. Police are appealing for public assistance to locate a man wanted on arrest warrants as part of Operation Amarok. Tony Tawk, age 50, is wanted by virtue of outstanding arrest warrants in relation to assault occasioning actual bodily harm, DV. He is described as being of Mediterranean appearance, 160 to 170 centimeters tall, medium build, with grey hair, brown eyes, and grey beard. Mind you, horrible description of my uncle. But anyway, that's fine. They got his picture. Tony Tawk is believed to frequent the Marylands area. As police continue to conduct inquiries into his whereabouts, they are urging anyone who may have information to contact Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000. Operation Amarok is a statewide operation aimed at arresting persons wanted by virtue of outstanding arrest warrants for domestic and family violence offences. Anyone with information about this incident is urged to contact Crime Stoppers, 1-800-333-000 or newsouthwales.crimestoppers.com.au. Information is treated in strict confidence. The police is reminded not to report crimes via New South Wales Police social media page. And you got a lovely photo of Tony. He looks very angry, and he does not have a grey beard. Yeah, it's really, really unfortunate what happened to my Uncle Tony. And mind you, I just want to add that Ami Tone is a danger to himself, is a danger to others, does need to be apprehended. I just don't think that, you know, an AVO will resolve anything in the least. And mind you, and this is a point that it's super important for me to get across to you guys, my audience of 3,000 subscribers. Ami Tone's aggression stems from his family. He is a paranoid schizophrenic who is susceptible to the influence of other people. He has seen nothing but violence and anger all of his life. So to him, it's the only language that he knows. He doesn't know how to regulate his emotion. And when he sees his brother, Charlie, as unable to regulate his emotion, and let me get this point across, this is super important. It is my opinion, Andrew Tawk's opinion from Andrew Tawk's Clubhouse fame, right? My expert personal opinion, having witnessed how my family treats Tony, how my uncle treats Tony, and how my Uncle Charlie treats other people, it is my opinion that Charlie is more emotionally unstable than Tony. or at least they're very similar. They're the same, but for Charlie being slightly more emotionally unstable. Right? Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, Charlie lashes out as violently, no. I don't even know what that's really just the point that I want to make, right? Ultimately that, yes, Tony is a danger to himself and others. Yes, his family ought to have called the police, you know, if they felt threatened or unsafe around him. Yes, I understand that, you know, they felt that they had no other sort of course of actions. I get that, right? I get that. But the main concern for me, or the main question, is where does the anger come from and how do we resolve it in the long term? Because I'm not too sure what an AVO is going to do other than take him to court again. The court is going to identify straight away that he's not just, you know, mucking around, that he's got a lot of mental health issues, a lot of intense neurological disorders. He is a schizophrenic. He sees things that aren't there. He feels things quite strongly, right? He needs to be medicated, right? And he needs to have guardians that don't constantly bash him, right? Guardians that are not okay with abuse, right? And not okay with lashing out physically if they're upset at Tony for leaving crumbs on the kitchen bench. Okay? That's a huge part of the issue, right? Tony Tawk, my uncle Tony Tawk, is now in custody of the police because he is stuck in a vicious toxic cycle that was formed by his family. That really escalated after the death of his father, and then got really worse after the death of his mother. Because everyone in the family crumbled and fell apart in their own sort of ways. No one could give Tony the care and attention, but more than that, other people in his family began exhibiting a lot more sort of aggression. I can't say what they did because I don't really know his family as well as I thought I did. So I'm not going to opine on that. I just know that that family's extraordinarily toxic, because I've never ever felt as aggressive and as upset as I did last year and the latter part of 2023. Ever in my life. It was extraordinary. And mind you, that's working with my family for a year where I was winning. I removed my Uncle Charlie as director. I secured $2 million worth of loans, and I crumbled and fell apart almost immediately because it was hell on earth working with my family. It was hell on earth seeing how they exonerated and upheld bullies, you know. So what happened to Tony is inevitable. And I feel really sorry for him. And I have a lot of pity for him and his family. And I also just want to make another thing known, that there were family members, I'll just tell you, Auntie Noel and Auntie Rada helped get Amiton a place to stay, right? They paid a bond for 4 weeks. Okay, but here's the hilarious thing, right? And this is what, I think I've mentioned this before, of like unfinished Lebanese morality, right? Because my whole family just thinks that they're good or great or whatever, but they don't follow through on anything, and they just do things like, how would you say, like halfway, right? So it's good that they found Tony a place to stay. It's good that they paid the bond for 4 weeks. But he's a paranoid schizophrenic with violent tendencies that needs a carer. How on earth was he going to take care of himself and pay the rent? What are you doing, you imbeciles? What's wrong with you? So shortly after he got his own apartment where he lives by himself, he got kicked out. Obviously. He didn't have a social worker. He didn't have any planned structure. He didn't have a doctor to go to or see. No one was being a proper guardian to him, right? And the other formal guardians that he had, Majid, his nephew Majid, and his brother Charlie, bashed him, constantly physically assaulted him. They'll admit that to you. They won't admit that to the police. Oh, they might, actually. Yeah, cause I did, but he got aggro at me and I was scared for my safety, or whatever, I don't know. But that, you can't have people like that be his guardian, right? And it's so frustrating because to my family, the simpletons, right, it was either leave him alone because he's too annoying, or hand him over to violent, abusive thugs, right? There's no middle ground. Like, maybe be nice to him, maybe make sure that he sees a psychologist and a psychiatrist, like, regularly. There's dozens upon dozens of different programs that he could do around the area, like community centers, all that sort of stuff. He could do art classes for free. He could go to swimming. He could do something. My God, like, and I know this personally because I, was basically army done for like a year, right, last year, and I had to sort of research like what could help me, right? And firstly, I realized that I can't help myself and I need help, right? That was the biggest truism that I realized last year. And I found that, yeah, there are, things that you can do, activities and organizations and all that kind of stuff. And there's people that he can reach out to and speak to and all that sort of stuff. My cousins, his brothers and sisters don't actually have to physically be there and take care of him. They just have to know how to guide him in the right direction and sort of like oversee him to make sure that he's doing the right things. Done, did you see your doctor today? Or how about this? Go take it to see the doctor because he won't go, because he sees things that aren't there, for goodness sakes. Jesus Christ, man. And it is just so odd that they don't think to just get him a doctor, to get him to see a doctor regularly. It just doesn't. No, cause he lashed out violently, so I'm angry at him. Fucking hell, man. Like, anyway, it doesn't matter. The police aren't going to help him. It's going to make it worse, right? Because even if he does have a sentence, some sort of custodial sentence, it'll be short term, and then he'll come back into society. And then the cycle will start again, because that's what happened with my brother Eddie, right? There's more hope for Tony than there is Eddie. Hopefully, if he does get a custodial sentence, that being in a prison and speaking to the social workers will sort of help him. It is so pitiful, so sad. Ammi Done will end up better off having a custodial sentence, right? And getting like help that way, right? Than getting proper conscientious help from his family. I like Ami CHARBELS is a millionaire. Oh gosh, sorry. Fun fact. Do you hear a fun fact about Ami CHARBELS? So the $200,000 that he stole back in 2013, right, that was witnessed by John Romanos. John Romanos, my new best friend. I love John Romanos, that white fox. Gosh, he's gorgeous. It was witnessed by John Romanos, right? So John Romanos knows, okay, that a check was made to Charlie that was supposed to be split between all of his brothers and sisters, John Romanos knows that Charlie took it, spent it, and it disappeared. Now, I don't know if John Romanos knows that his brothers and sisters were happy. The deal that he struck with his brothers and sisters is that, okay, you stole the money, right? You're going to get these apartments in Canterbury, right? One of the apartments is for Tony, for him to live in. It was supposed to be like a ground floor apartment. Oh, Ami's also was... anyway, there's some guy, George. He bought him off George. So maybe George is like the owner of the development company that built the buildings in Canterbury, because Ami Shabi was buying off the plan, right? There was a major development happening for apartment complexes in Canterbury. He purchased off the plans, and one of the ground floor apartments was supposed to be given to his brother to live in. His brother Tony Tawk to live in, but because my Uncle Charlie is unstable emotionally and is a liar, a career criminal, and a thief, by the time the ground floor apartments were ready to live in, he just decided, no, they're my apartments. No, what should I? What should I? I did everything. Dude, it was so exhausting stealing from the family. I need to be rewarded. Those are my apartments now. And Ami Thorne never lived in those apartments. He lived with his dying father as his father crumbled and fell apart. That's what happened, right? And then after, his father died, Jiddi died, his father died, everything just sort of crumbled and fell apart. And cut to this year, Ami Thorne, before he was apprehended by the police, was sleeping outside of Maryland's RSL because it's warm there. That's according to his housemate that he was living with at the time. I called him a bunch in the last several sort of weeks to get an idea of where Ami Thorne was at, and it wasn't good, And the guy kept saying, like, what's wrong with his family, man? Why do they keep calling the cops on him? And because that's who they are, bro. It is what it is, man. Yeah. Haram, bro. He's sleeping on the streets of the RSL. Like, yeah, I know it's haram. He's going to go to jail and he'll die like that. It's either death or jail, and then that's it, right? It's a dead man walking situation, just like the other Tony, right? He will die, I don't know, of a shorter life expectancy, I suppose, right? He is living in absolute abject misery, right? And to resolve him isn't this big, huge, massive issue. It's quite straightforward. He needs to go back in his apartment in Canterbury that was supposed to be Tony's, and he needs to be overseen not by Charlie, the abuser, right? Not by Majid, the thief and junkie, right? Not by Maroun, the coward and swine. Not by Rosa, right? The geriatric abuser, my grandmother Basha, let's just say, right? Not by anyone from that family, because none of them can take care of him. I suppose that's the tragedy, isn't it? None of them can take care of him because they're all broken themselves. And I suppose that's the overall message. Yeah. I thought that it might be a good idea in that case if he stays in Qatar with my dad. And I have to make the case, for my dad, because my dad's knee-jerk reaction is obviously, no, I don't want to take care of my brother. I've got too much, on my plate or whatever. And I was telling him, like, back in 2023, you don't have to take care of him. You could just hire someone in Qatar for cheap, like $500 a month, right, to basically be his carer, right, to be his companion. And I just Google search, Qatar health companion or whatever. I forgot what it was, like carer. That's right, yeah, carer. And you can get a carer or a companion for people that struggle with mental health issues and drug addiction. Like, I actually reached out to the company on WhatsApp, and I told them, about my uncle who's a paranoid schizophrenic, who's got drug addiction issues, and even my brother who's, got ice addiction issues. And, you know, they basically, you know, came back with a really thoughtful response and things that they do. They're basically like his companion. They chat to him. They would chat to him, and they'd sort of like, you know, clean after him a little bit and make food for him a little bit and all that stuff. And it's 12 hours a day, 7 days a week kind of thing. I think it ended up costing like a lot, like 4K a month, but that was just like the first option, you know. I'm sure you can get something for like half of that or less than half of that. And that's basically the equivalent of, you know, how much rent would cost in Sydney, you know. And there's no drugs in Qatar. It's a completely different sort of environment. It's cleaner, it's nicer. For me, I know that Ami Done's issues with sort of violence and aggression stems from his environment, right? And his lack of support, right? But if you take him to Qatar, nice clean environment, and you give him a support network, right? You literally hire people to be a support network because no one in his family can do that. It's the best chance that he has of being normal, right? Because even like the best time, how do I say this? There were periods where Ami Dona was doing really well when he was living with Majid, his nephew, and he was under the care of his brother, Charlie. But even in those times, Majid was regularly snorting cocaine in front of his uncle and then doing marijuana in front of his paranoid schizophrenic uncle, right? So the best case scenario with Majid and Ami Charbel is being in an area where drug use is common and physical abuse is common as well. No hope that he would get any better at all, right? His family can't seem to understand how toxic they are, right? No, he won't get better because his family is extraordinarily toxic. Full stop. That's just the truth, in my opinion. Yeah. So I think it's important, you know, for me to kind of lay out what I think led to Ami Done being in the position that he's in now. I do support Operation Amarok. I do support the police, right? I'm not making light of the fact that Ami Done is violent and is aggressive, right? But me, as his nephew and as someone that actually cares about him, right? Because I have a close personal relationship with him, he's my uncle, and he's been my uncle since I was born, right? You can't like disentangle that, right? Yeah, man, I care about him. I'm quite empathetic and pathetic in it, right? Yeah, I see what's wrong with him, right? And I see that a lot of it is avoidable, right? And that there are resolutions to the issues, but no one seems to be sort of taking those resolutions kind of seriously, right? They're quite, I don't know, complacent, I suppose, when it comes to their brother, but they're quite complacent when it comes to anything that's even mildly difficult, right? That's why I think ultimately my family are just quite lazy, apathetic, sort of buffoons, in a way, you know, violent swine, junkies, and wretches of the highest order. You know, I think that my Uncle Maroon, the eldest son of that family, is an absolute disgrace. Absolute disgraceful human being. Coward and swine. Oh gosh. He's taken to bitching, talking about me to Antirada, right? Apparently, like recently, he was speaking to Antirada. This is what, you know, Amizulzul. Anyway, doesn't matter. Ami Maroun is shouting, is making this big scene, you know, of how I ruined his life and, you know, how I brought shame upon him, and if he sees me, he'll kill me, he'll kill me, he'll kill me, I'll kill Andrew, I will, that scumbag, look what, in Arabic, I don't know. Yeah, and I just find it hilarious. And he's basically like lashing out about me to his little sister. He's complaining about me to his little. He's complaining about his little nephew to his little sister, rather than calling my number and having it out with me. Because he's a fucking coward. Oh my god, man! What's wrong with you? Don't stop bitching about me behind my back. Just talk to me. Make it public, or just talk to me in private. You know, you got my number. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You know, if I talk to him, then, you know, I'll obviously put it on YouTube, and he doesn't want that. He just wants people to secretly think that, you know, he's a, I don't know. But for me, that's a good example, right? He is obviously exposing the fact that he's got these insidious, aggressive thoughts towards me, and rather than sort of relinquishing himself of that, right, come to terms with them, how would you say, processing them, you know, he's just steeping in that anger and then that hate, right? Oh, look what Andrew did to me. Look what Andrew did. Look what Andrew did. If he would have just listened once in 2023, none of this would have happened. Everything would have been fine, but there's no way in the world that would have happened, because as soon as I found out the kind of people that my family were, I don't think I was working to anyone's benefit anymore. I think I was just crumbling and falling apart, because at the time, more importantly than money, I needed emotional support from my family, and yeah, not really good at that, are they? They destroyed my Uncle Tony, my brother, even my father, right? Because you have to think, why is my father in Qatar, not Villiers Street, Marylands, right? Not living with his family? Why? If he's got 15 Otto Street now, right, in it, he redid the floors, right? Why is he in Qatar, in Doha, Qatar, but not 15 Otto Street? Why? He doesn't want to be anywhere near his family, because he knows, deep down inside, he knows how evil they are. Because he told me, you know, how they contributed to his downfall. They didn't help him, right? They were one of those people that just sort of poked him. What's wrong with you? Well, why are you like that for? Why are you like that? And completely forgot all the good that he'd done for them. And so when his father died, he sort of just ran away to Qatar, right? And sort of found peace that way. If you can't find peace living in Maryland's near his family, right? So too is Ami Zuzul, that's why he's in Lithgow. So too is Ami Charbel, who's evidently, I think, in the eastern suburbs, right? Yeah, family can't live with each other, right? They despise each other, all of them, right? The level of hatred and animus that that family has towards each other is unparalleled in the Lebanese Maronite community in Sydney, in my opinion. Yeah, so if you have no choice and you can't run away, right, and you have to be in their care, you'll crumble and fall apart and you will die or go to jail, right? That's what happened to my grandfather. That's what happened. That's what's happening to my brother. That's what's happening to Amitone. That's what was happening to Ami Zuzul, right? And then he moved to Lithgow, and he seems a lot better. I saw him yesterday, and it was, oh God, like medicine. It was as good as me seeing Candace, right? I cycled to my mum's house straight away when I found out that he was at my mum's house, because he called me and I answered the number, and then I went, saw him straight away, and opened his phone shortly after I saw him to find that my number was in fact blocked, and so I unblocked it. And we just had a chat, not about what happened last year, because none of us really want to talk about it, but just where he's at, where his head's at, and what he's been doing. And he just seems in much better spirits, you know. He's adamant now that, like, he doesn't want to engage with his family anymore. He doesn't, you know, want to, and he's happy just to live in Lithgow on his own, away from his family. And that's the best decision for him, because yeah, his family doesn't care about him, and they never have. They mocked him, right? for the kind of person that he was. And I did last year as well because, you know, I was sort of on that truth serum, you know, on that mania trip, right? And he seems in much better spirits. He is driving a Renault Kangoo, which I absolutely adore. I got this sentimental soft spot for Renault Kangoos because I rented one with Emily when we went to Iceland. It was a Renault Kangoo converted into a camper van. I think Iceland with Emily might have been one of the best moments of my life. I'm trying to figure out why, but I'm not too sure. It's got something to do with how beautiful and awe-inspiring Iceland is and being able to share it with someone that I truly love and not really ever having that prior in my life. And being poor in Iceland, not being able to afford much, and you know, sleeping in a bloody Renault Kangoo and having like a little butane cooker to cook, I don't know, noodles or whatever. It was the happiest I was. One of the happiest that I was. And it taught me a really, really important lesson that it's not all about money. It's about beauty and love. It's good medicine. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes you need actual medicine, like lithium, 500 milligrams. Ami Zuzu was telling me about how Sebastian bought a place in France and he's renovating it and he's helping him renovate it. He went to France with some tools and some lighting fixtures. Ami Zuzu went to France and took tools and lighting fixtures with him to do the wiring for Sebastian's house that he purchased with his friend in France. Sebastian's turning into a real estate developer in France, in one of the best countries in the world to do that, because you can get houses for as cheap as chips. And you do internal renovation, you can either flip it, you could repay the debt on, it could be positively geared, right? I don't know about the specifics in France, right? Because they have taxes and all that sort of stuff, man. But he's an accountant and a genius, and he's amazing, and he'll figure it out. Yeah, he can rent it out, he can flip it, right, for a profit, or he can rent it out on Airbnb. My God. And he's already done one, and his brother CHARBELS wants to do the same. It's like, yeah, boy, you do that, boy. You do that, buddy. Yeah, you do that. Yeah, you do you. Because that's how it all starts, just faith in yourself, right? Take a leap of faith. Do something crazy like that. It'll come good. That's amazing. And he's redoing the flooring, he's redoing the walls and the wiring, and he's just, you know, designing it so beautifully. I told my uncle that I really, 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 really want to go with him next time he goes to France to help Sebastian on their house, because that is something that I'd really love to do, you know, because I think it's special and lovely. And I've never been able to do something like that with my family in the past, or I've never wanted to do anything like that with my family in the past, because they're so toxic, right, that it'd just be a misery, right? I'd crumble and fall apart, right? Because there are examples of that in the past, right? So, for example, when they did the construction at 17 at that Village Street, right, the duplex, I didn't want to be involved in that. It was all just argument after argument after argument. My God, man. And look at what happened last year, trying to get the message across to my dad that at the very least 15 Otter Street needs to be renovated. I literally had to break a window to get that message across, and literally trash the place to tell him that your place is trash, it needs to be fixed, I can help you fix it. And he was so offended by that idea. Yeah. He was so disgusted by that idea that, like, yeah, he wouldn't entertain it. He had to wait till he comes, and then he just did everything on his own, proudly. I came to Sydney and I fixed the house on my own without my son while my other son was in jail and my other daughter was not speaking to me. I'm a good father and a good person. He was literally happy. He showed me the video of what he did. Like, look what I did, Andrew. I fixed the floor all on my own. I was like, oh, wow, you monster. Do you not understand anything? Wow, you're gonna die soon. That's the death that you're gonna have. No one cares about you. No one loves you. No one's gonna venerate your death. They're just gonna be happy that you're gone because you're nothing but a self-absorbed swine. I couldn't do anything with my dad, right? Sebastian is in France, his father's in Sydney, and he flew over to France to help his son renovate a house and work on his dream. That's love. It's amazing. That's a miracle. You know, and that's a good story, I think. Hoi. Yeah. So with what's happening with Ammi Zulzul, I'm really, really happy. I get a good feeling about him. And by the way, props to Amti Ghada and Martami Rosa, right? So Amti Ghada and Martami Rosa, both called Ammi Zulzul. On Boxing Day, so they can go to his place in Lithgow and have a Boxing Day celebration with him and the family on Christmas Day in Lithgow. And he was telling me how that made him feel so happy and it brought him so much joy. And I'm like, that's amazing. You know, good on you, Amti Ghada and Rosa, you know. A broken clock is still right once a day. Yeah, right? Twice a day. So yeah, it's good. Even like, you know, the worst examples of Lebanese sort of Maronites can do good things, which is lovely, you know. So Rosa and Amti Ghada did something really, really, really sweet for Zulzul on Boxing Day. And then evidently it was ruined by Ami Maroun, who started arguing and screaming, right? And everyone ended up leaving at 9:30, but yeah, he was so happy and it made him so happy. And it made me so happy, right? And I think that that's a better sort of thing, you know, people going to Lithgow to hang out with Ami Zulzul, right? In that beautiful kind of, you know, house in his beautiful jardin, right? Rather than him going to like a drug den, in Rosa's house and in, you know, Ghada's house, right? They're both just, you know, crappy places that have produced nothing but, I don't know, danger to the society. I don't know, danger to the public. I don't know. Because at Rosa's house, like at every party, Majid and Youssef are likely doing cocaine and just getting absolutely drunk. And if they're not doing anything bad there, then they're driving, you know, to Osco or to a brothel afterwards, right? To just, you know, have a good time, I suppose. Not Youssef. Youssef doesn't partake in that stuff. But Majid definitely does. And then, you know, at Villiers Street, it's just all blood and guts, you know, just a horrible, horrible, horrible place, you know, designed by a maniac, my Uncle Charlie, right? Yeah. And, you know, I'm starting to write emails, right? Because I kind of want Andrew's Clubhouse to be something, right? I got a friend in Parliament who I haven't reached out to for months, right? But I want to reach out to him when I'm sort of good and ready, right? Because he's the Minister for Charity, amongst other things, right? And I want to sort of figure out charity, right? How to make it, how to construct it, all that sort of stuff, and to see if it's something that, you know, I like or not, right? So I kind of just want to understand, you know, charities that we have on at the moment, right? And for me, I'm the kind of person that if I see a structure, I always sort of like point at the weak points of that sort of structure, right? Not because I think it's bad, but just because I kind of want to learn from, I want to avoid things that I don't like about other organizations, right? So for example, Maronites on Mission, great organization, but the rumor is a lot of people give to the charity, you know, as a way to launder money, but I don't think that that's what they do. I think a lot of people are getting confused. You know, if you give to charity, you do get tax breaks, but that doesn't, you know, mean that you know, you're laundering money. For me, my problem with Maronites on Mission is that the highest tier sponsor is Home Upholstery, and Home Upholstery is an organization that I think is horrid and immoral, right? So for example, the police having come to the factory, on one occasion confirmed, right, where Ami Charbel broke or fractured Ami torn his finger after they had an argument, right, because he was forcing him to work when he didn't want to work. But then prior to that, Ami Charbel has a pattern of abusing his workers, right, like me. When I used to work at his factory in Bexley, so my concern with his physical altercations with his brother Tony suggested that he's still engaging in abusive behavior in his factory, Home Upholstery. So I wrote an email to Maronites on Mission with the help of AI. All right, I'm gonna have to edit that. The printout that I made sort of cut off the words in the email. So to reiterate, I sent an email to Maronites on Mission, and this is what I said in the email. Dear Maronites on Mission team, my name is Andrew Tawk and I'm the host of the YouTube channel Andrew's Clubhouse. My platform focuses on fostering open dialogue around personal family issues, mental health, substance use, and challenging behaviours within the Lebanese Maronite community in Sydney. Right? And the challenging behaviours are things like a person with a history of domestic violence and abuse and physical assault being such a pronounced figure in the Lebanese Maronite Church in St. CHARBELS Parish, Punchbowl. I've referenced Maronites on Mission on several occasions and deeply admire the work you do. I'm writing to explore potential avenues for collaboration and support. Specifically, I'm interested in learning more about your gold sponsorship program. Could you please provide information on the associated costs and eligibility criteria? Additionally, I'm curious about your due diligence process regarding sponsors. Do you have procedures in place to verify the ethical sourcing of funds and ensure alignment with your organization's values, right? For individuals who resonate with your mission and wish to contribute, do you have any specific guidance or words of encouragement? That's me, and that's several other people in my family. That's Gabby. I've also encountered some public criticism regarding your organization's financial practices. While I personally do not subscribe to these views, and I don't, addressing these concerns proactively could significantly enhance public trust and transparency. Perhaps a statement or clarification on your website could be beneficial. See? Furthermore, I'd be honored to explore the possibility of participating in and filming a segment for Andrew's Clubhouse during one of your food runs. Oh God, oh, that'd be so awesome. I've done food runs before when I was in high school for Christian youth group. It was really, really lovely. It was, I think behind like the National Library and the Domain. It's really, really, really good. I got to talk to a homeless couple who had to give away their baby. Use addressing the concerns. During one of your food runs. I believe this experience would be immensely valuable for my personal and spiritual growth, as well as an opportunity to showcase your impactful work to my audience. Dude, that would be a dream and a half, right? If anyone could ever take what I'm doing seriously. Hopefully they do. I don't know. I'm eager to learn more about your organization and how we might collaborate. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Andrew Tawk from Andrew's Clubhouse fame. Right? I think that's a good email that I sent. I think that was a worthwhile email that I sent. I think it sort of shows where my heart was always at. Because, you know, my heart's not clouded, let's just say, anymore. And I sort of have a clear vision of what I want to make this channel about. So an email like that really made me happy. And by the way, me just sending an email like that made me happy. Like, I don't think that they'll reply. I don't think they care. I think, you know, they just don't want anything to do with me. You know, like my dad. But yeah, that's what I did, and that's what I said, and that's what I sent. And on that note, sun's up. I've got to start my day editing this monstrosity. Yeah, so I just want to say bye. I want to say thank you so much to my audience. Please like and subscribe. I adore it. I am so proud of myself and my audience. My last video got so many awesome, fruitful comments, right? And I'd love to hear people's comments about this video. What do you think about my Uncle Tony now being in the I don't know, police system now, right? What do you think is going to result? Do you have any suggestions for what he can do, or what I can do, or what his family can do to help him sort of recover? Right? Because I just see him as someone that's sick that needs help, right? Rather than someone that's bad that needs to be punished, right? And that's the fundamental difference. What do, you know, my viewers think about that? Whoever gets to the end of the videos, most people don't. I'm so proud of my Uncle Zulzo. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy that he's doing something so beautiful and proactive with his kids in France. And, you know, he wants to move to Lebanon to be closer to his kids. And I fully support that. Rent out the place in Lithgow. You live in Lebanon, man. Find your beautiful, poetic shack. Live there. See about making some money. And then, you know, every so often, go see your kids, and hopefully your kids will end up being millionaires. You know, they'll make millions and millions of euros, right, in France, and, you know, you won't have to worry about money anymore. And that can absolutely happen. Your kids are imbued with such beautiful, rich spirit that I find it totally conceivable that they could be, you know, millionaires and great. Set a great example for our community, and I wish nothing but the best for them and for my Uncle Zulzo. And on that note, I love you. Bye.